Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Beacon Way podcast. I'm your host, Adrienne Wilkerson, and I'm really excited today to talk to you about best practices for SEO and GEO to optimize content in 2025 with AI. So that's a mouthful, but really, we're going to be talking about some of the evolutions in SEO and one of the primary ones being GEO right now, and that's GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. So we're going to dig in to talk about today some of the transitions and how you can take advantage of what is currently going on in AI and engine optimization. So, my first question for you today, as a business owner out there or a marketer, is how does your content rank in an era where SEO is now driven by artificial intelligence? So, search engine optimization or SEO continues to evolve. And if you want your website and your post to remain relevant, it's time to rethink your strategy. AI is reshaping how search engines work, and 2025 is holding even greater challenges than before. Are you ready to adapt? I think that's the question. So, we're going to take you through some of the major impacts of AI on SEO. And we're going to talk about what generative engine optimization is versus artificial intelligence optimization, so GEO, AIO. And better yet, we're going to cover some practical tips to stay ahead of the curve. And better yet, we're going to cover some practical tips to stay ahead of the curve and understand the languaging. We're going to have a part 2 of this talking about some of the next iterations that are coming out. But today we're going to focus primarily on SEO and GEO. So, starting off, let's talk about what AI is doing to search engine optimization. And I will say, search engine optimization or SEO has kind of always been a murky gray area within the digital marketing spectrum. Google's constantly trying to come up with new ways to stop people from trying to keyword stuff their websites, which was a thing for a long time. And so now AI is really transforming that whole world. So I'm going to start off with a question. Have you ever wondered how search engines seem to be so good at understanding what you mean, even when your question is vague, or you misspell something, or you mix it back up and change the words around? Primarily, that's AI. AI is what's helping the search engine understand what you're asking for based on what others have asked for, and it's accumulating data and it's looking for patterns. So search engines now use advanced models like Google's RankBrain and MUM to figure out intent and context. So now it's pretty much forget your keywords, or at least keywords alone. The best search engines are analyzing your entire conversation. They're looking for intent and context. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Now it's intent versus keywords world. So when someone is searching for best therapist near me, it's not about matching those exact words anymore. That was more traditional SEO, keyword focused SEO. Search engines now want to see the context that solves problems, answers big questions, and shows expertise. Does your website do that? Do your articles do that? Do they solve problems? Do they answer big questions? And do they show expertise? This is part of what the AI models are looking for. This is why search engines can understand potentially really vague questions. AI is linking words in smarter ways than search engines historically could. So, your content that you're writing and putting out there on the web needs to be comprehensive, clear, and natural. It cannot sound like an AI wrote it. So, are you writing your website content? Are you writing your blogs, your articles, your social media content? Are you writing it in a way that sounds conversational and human? I'll give you a hint. That's more important than ever before. I'm going to say this again. Writing content that sounds conversational and sounds human is more important than ever before. The AI models are actually trained to look for information, articles, writing that is human and conversational. So, really, this kind of comes back to user experience. That's a big part of how we explain or quantify people and what they're reading. So, have you ever wondered what visitors think or feel when they land on your site? AI really ensures that search engines notice if your visitors are happy or frustrated. If people bounce off your website too quickly, if they click around aimlessly, or experience a slow loading page, you're likely to take a hit in the rankings, in your website rankings. So, UX is very important to AI marketing, to SEO and GEO, and this evolution. And it's not always considered part of SEO, but it is part of GEO and where we're moving. So here's some things to look for. Make sure you're checking your core web vitals. So are your pages loading fast enough? Are they responsive on all devices? Google's Core Web Vitals measures things like load speed, interactivity, and they matter more now than ever. So it's really time to check to see if your site is up to speed, pun intended. All right. So another thing to pay a lot of attention to is voice and visual search. So imagine asking Alexa or Siri a question or snapping a picture to search for something similar. This is where search is headed for us. So the question is, have you optimized your content for voice queries and visuals? If you haven't, it's something to really seriously consider. Okay, so now that we've kind of gone through some more general, higher level background, let's get into some of the nitty gritties. What is what is generative engine optimization, and what is artificial intelligence optimization? So let's start off with generative engine optimization, or GEO. Have you ever noticed how Google sometimes gives you instant answers to your questions right in the search results? This is what GEO is all about. It's aligning with AI generated responses. So if you can make your website the trusted source for these instant answers, you're golden. Now, how do you do that? Think about adding structured data markup to tell search engines exactly what your content is about. Are you making it easy for search engines to pick your content as the top answer? How do you do this? We mentioned it a little bit earlier. Are you writing in a conversational way? AI loves conversational tone, just like a friendly back and forth. If your writing feels robotic, you need to change that. So if you're using AI to write your content and you're not humanizing it, you're not making sure that it is conversational and has a flow to it, your content is not going to be effective in our newer GEO focused world. Think about the questions your audiences really ask and how would you be answering them if you were sitting in front of them? So again, think about a conversation. Think about the conversations that you have over the phone or in person with potential clients. This is the conversation you need to have through your writing, which will increase the chances that GEO or the search engines are going to provide your information as reference points to answer somebody's query. So, how do we use AI to work for you to do a better job of this? AI tools can make your SEO life easier, but they have to be used correctly. So, tools like Jasper.ai and predictive analytics software, they can save you hours of time. They can help with everything from keyword research to creating content that's really tailored to your audience. But you have to go through and humanize it. You have to add in examples of from real life, and you have to make sure the information is conversational. All right, so let's say you're getting ready to sit down and do content and you're wondering what topics you should write about. What's going to be trending? What's coming? AI can actually predict what your users might be searching for based on historic data. And this can get you ahead of your competition, meaning if you're asking AI the right questions, you can get this really powerful information. It's kind of like having your own crystal ball. All right. We had a recent podcast talking about personalized content. We'll put the link to that podcast in the comments when we post. But it's really important that your content is personalized, and AI can help you do this. It can help customize your content based on location-based landing pages, for example, or blogs that are targeted towards specific demographics. Again, your content, your use of AI needs to be able to help you be more personalized. Okay, so let's talk some real life strategies. We've talked about the trends, we've talked about what's coming, but how do you really apply them? Okay, number one thing, know what your audience wants. Do you focus on keywords or user intent? Think about why somebody would be searching for your brand or your products. Are they gathering info? Are they making decisions? Are they ready to buy? Your content should match their actual needs. And again, this is where you can use AI to help customize your message to connect with people, whether they are gathering information, whether they're making a decision, or they're looking to buy right now. So that's what I mean by it's important to not just know the keywords they might be searching for, the questions they might be searching for, but the intent behind it. So, another question to ask is what type of content does each search intent need? Okay, now that might sound complicated, but it's pretty straightforward. So, start off by categorizing different potential intents that your customers might have. For example, this is coming back to the informational decision making thing that I just mentioned earlier. Are they in the informational intent stage? Are my potential patients asking, how does therapy work? How does red light therapy work? How does EMDR therapy work? Are they in that information gathering stage? Or are they at the transactional stage? Are they looking to book appointment? They're ready to make that. They're in that transactional stage. Obviously, you wouldn't want to give the people that are still gathering information a link to book yet. That's probably going to turn them off. They're probably going to bounce. If they're ready to make a decision, you don't want to link them back to another blog that's just giving them more information. That's going to frustrate them or irritate them. They're ready to book. They want the booking link. So it's really about making sure that you're meeting them where they're at. You need different tones to your content and information for both types of search intent. So you can use tools like Mouseflow and Hotjar. They can help you identify where visitors to your site spend most of their time. So if they're visiting your blogs or your FAQ page, then they're going to be on the informational side of the intent equation. If they're spending more time on a contact form or trying to find your booking link, yep, you guessed it. They're in the transactional side of the equation. So again, it's hitting different people in different stages of the buying funnel or the buying cycle. You can use reporting tools like DataBox or Google Analytics 4, GA4. And with these, you can track where the traffic is coming into your site. And again, be able to determine pretty much whether they're in informational or transaction stage. The traffic you have coming into your blog page or About Us page is going to be focused more on information. The traffic coming into your Contact Us page or booking page is transactional. Figure out how much you have of each and you'll have a good starting point for your content focus. All right, second big thing to pay attention to is to sprinkle in schema markup. So, are you making your content easy for search engines to understand? Structured data markup or schema is a tool that helps search engines know your pages. It's a way to organize information on your website so a search engine can understand it better. It's typically in the back end, it's typically code. It's not for the human, for the individual user. It's really targeted toward the search engine so they are better and equipped to provide a user with the information they need. So using schema can make your site stand out in search results with extra details like reviews, event information, and lots more. So what should you use for schema markup? What should you mark up? If you run a healthcare site, imagine using schema to mark hours, services, or even reviews. Because as a search engine is crawling a ton of information, they're going to follow those markers to where you marked hours or services or reviews. And the better marked with schema marks, your website is, the more likely then that search engines are going to find what they need. So you want to be front and center. So using that is a really powerful way. And again, that typically happens in the back end of your website. Okay, number 3, get voice and visual search friendly. More and more people are talking to their devices and they're using images. Less and less they're typing in questions. Our strategy as marketers has to keep up. So you could try putting together like an FAQ page to address the questions people ask their device. So when you're visualizing this and how you're going to put this on your website, what are the common voice searched phrases? For example, something like, what's the best addiction recovery program near me? So again, people don't talk in terms of keywords. They talk in terms of questions. So what are the questions you get asked? What are the questions people might ask? And that is what you want to put in your website. You want your website to connect for voice search. So images. Are your images optimized? Please, 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 as you're working on your website, don't skip out on the alt text and naming your files with intention. So your photos need to say what they're really about and what connects to the article, because if somebody's putting up an image and they're searching, you want them to find you. Okay, number 4, write for people, not robots. I'm going to say this again. Write for people, not robots. Is your content genuinely helpful? AI is smart and getting smarter all the time. It's looking for content that puts people first. So AI is now writing so much content that AI is almost educating AI. But that's not necessarily helpful to people. So when your content puts people first and is conversational, and is genuinely helpful, that is going to help AI be able to be a better tool. And so AI is going to tend to gravitate that direction. So how do you make your content stand out? Share real world advice or experiences. If you're writing about addiction recovery, for example, is it possible to share the origin story of the clinic founder? Obviously, get their approval first, but be relatable. So why did they start the program? There's usually a story behind it. Find that story and talk about that story. Highlight that story. You could also use relatable but privacy protected examples. So strip out all the personal information. These can go a long way to reflecting your audience's real life struggles. That personal touch goes a long way. Obviously, if you're in addiction recovery or behavioral health or mental health, or almost any healthcare related field, you have HIPAA and PI issues to navigate around very carefully. So make sure if you're using any kind of examples, you get permission, which is very hard to do if they're your current client and is frowned upon. So unless it's volunteered by somebody, you don't want to do that, but you can actually use a lot of redacted type stuff if people volunteer that. Okay, number 5, use AI tools to work smarter. So if you could spend less time on the manual SEO tasks and you can use tools like SEMrush and MarketMuse, they just might become your best friends. They can go through and give you recommendations for how to SEO and GEO optimize your website based on current trends, based on who you're trying to target. These are amazing tools. So you can use these predictive technologies to plan blogs and articles and content, social media posts that really connect to where people are right now. All right, let's talk about some real life ideas for applying GEO or SEO concepts. So, idea number 1. A clinic could use AI-powered tools to uncover specific search behaviors. By creating content around phases like intensive outpatient program near me, you could boost your local search traffic by up to 40% in 9 to 6 months. Now, I'm not promising that, but we've seen very similar stories where people optimize their content. They're using AI research to find out what people are searching for, not just keywords, but full phrases, and writing content that connects to that. Idea number 2, you could leverage Google snippets. So, for example, a mental health provider could use structured data to break into the rich snippet game. So, the snippet game is when you have a Google search and somebody does a little snippet. It's kind of a highlighting your company. This is totally Google driven. It's not something you can pay for. So, for example, you could design a guide to simplify therapy options. The goal would be for your guide to become a go-to resource for Google. This could bring up to a 20% increase in page views. So again, Google's going to potentially highlight your guide as a snippet. But that's something that Google does. You can't pay for it. So there's a lot of trust there. All right, so let's talk about brand visibility and why it matters for our new era of GEO. This is a little deeper than some of the other stuff we've talked about, but I'm going to ask you the question. Have you wondered how AI-powered search pulls the right answer or similar right answer from millions of possible sources? So, here's part of what we know as to why it does. The more visible and credible your brand is on the website, the more likely the GEO algorithms will be to surface your content as a trusted go-to. So that's where what I mean when I say brand visibility. So if you want to make sure that your website is high on the list for AI engines, GEO, to pull, you want to make sure that your brand is visible in as many places as positively as possible. So imagine search engines scanning the entire web to answer a detailed, context-heavy question. What signals convince that AI to pick your blog first as an answer to that question? This is $1 million question right now. Okay, it's all about digital visibility and consistency. Okay, so let's do a quick audit. Are you actively publishing helpful, up-to-date content on your site, your blog, or even other channels like Medium or Substack or LinkedIn? Is your brand voice consistent everywhere you show up online? GEO is actually learning to trust brands with credibility expertise and a strong online presence. Having your content referenced on reputable sites, linked from relevant sources, and mentioned across social platforms all adds up to a stronger digital or web footprint. Potentially, the stronger your footprint, the more likely AI is to pull your content and to use you as a reputable source. Remember, AI considers not just what's on your website, but also how often your brand appears in reputable corners of the internet. So it's important now that your brand visibility is comprehensive and not just one or two social channels and a few articles. So let's say you're a mental health clinic and you're the CEO, you're the COO, and you're constantly sharing insights, patient resources. Your social media team is showing, expressing expert commentary across homepages, FAQs. You're active on social media. Google's AI and other GEO powered search engines are going to start recognizing your brand as a reputable source. Other tools could be a local news story featuring your clinic's approach. Or did somebody do a guest post on a well respected wellness blog? All of these things, again, all come together to form that digital footprint. Another idea is maybe you've created an in-depth guide about how to recognize signs of anxiety in teens. If this guide has backlinks from reputable education and medical websites and snippets are mentioned on social media, GEO engines will see clear signals that your content is well regarded, authoritative, and widely referenced. So then when a patient asks that search engine, they ask Perplexity, they ask Gronk, they ask OpenAI, ChatGPT, how do I know if my teen is struggling with anxiety? There's a much better chance that your content will be chosen to fuel that answer and actually lead back to helpful information and somebody going to your website. So let's talk some actionable steps. How can you strengthen your brand's web presence for GEO? Number one, publish high quality content regularly. Are you answering the kind of questions that audiences really care about? Think beyond a single post. Try a series of posts, a guide, update old posts with new information. Diversify where you share this knowledge. Are you writing guest articles on other reputable websites? Are you participating in online forums? Are you providing expert quotes? Are you constantly referencing your company in incredible ways? Don't keep your expertise just to your own website anymore. It's really important to spread it around. It's really important to leverage social proof. Can you encourage satisfied clients to leave reviews on Google and other trusted platforms? Reviews, testimonials, and real stories all contribute to visibility and build trust, which are two factors that GEO loves. Now, if you're in a healthcare field, this is more challenging than other industries because, especially in mental health, behavioral health, addiction recovery, you can't just ask for a review or a testimonial from an existing client. It's considered ethically absolutely a no-no. So there are ways to do it in an ethical manner. You could leave cards in your waiting area that somebody could pick up if they choose to want to leave you a review. And it could be a QR code to Google where they can leave a review, but they have to initiate and they have to start it. Now, there are a lot of clinics that have people that have been gotten such amazing help. They want to share their story. They want to help others. And that's beautiful and amazing if you've got that. But you, as a healthcare provider, as a mental health care provider, behavioral health care provider, addiction recovery, you cannot ask, especially if they're your current client. It's even frowned on if they're a former client, but especially if they're a current client. So get creative. And by all means, use them if people volunteer. But again, be very careful about predicting or protecting personal information. All right, another action item for this is make sure you're consistent with your branding. Is your messaging, your logo, your about us copy the same everywhere? It needs to be consistent. Any kind of inconsistent branding can confuse users and AI crawlers alike. Okay, we talked about this before. We're going to say it again. Use structured data and schema. Make sure your answers are marked, schema marked for easy recognition. Schema does help both traditional search and GEO extract the best bits from your site. So don't neglect your schema. All right, putting it all together, brand visibility and GEO success. Think of GEO powered search like hosting a Q&A with the entire internet as your audience. Only the most visible, relevant, and trustworthy experts even get the microphone. So if your brand is out there, answering questions, building connections, and demonstrating expertise, you boost the odds that your content is going to get pulled for direct answers. The payoff? More people find you right where they're seeking the information that you're best equipped to provide. And as GEO tech evolves, the value of a well-established web presence will keep climbing. This is our prediction. So ask yourself, what steps can you take today out of all the things that I've listed that can make your brand more visible, consistent, and helpful online? Here's my tip. Start small, stay steady. Don't try to do all the branding things at once. Maybe do an audit, see where you're doing good, where you need to improve. But in all of this, don't try to do it all at once. It's too much. You'll burn out and you'll stop. It's just, I've seen it happen time and time again. I've even seen us do it with our own company. So stay small, stay steady, and watch as search engines start to notice, and you get rewarded because things build. But don't be afraid to start small and stay steady. Those two are really, really important. All right, to wrap up today and summarize everything that we talked about, these are kind of your bottom liners. AI is shaping SEO faster than ever. But the good news is, together with this article and all the stuff that's out there, you can have what it takes to stay ahead. So when you focus on intent, user experience, and leveraging the right tools, you can future-proof your strategy as much as any of us can right now, because we're all figuring this out. So today is your opportunity to start refining your SEO strategy, because growth, it's not waiting for anybody. The AI is going to keep growing whether we get on board with this or not. So I'm going to leave you with my final question today. What steps are you going to take first? Share them in the comments below if you feel like it. We'd love to hear what takeaways were impactful for you, how you're using these, how you started small and stayed steady. So thank you very much for joining me today, your host, Adrienne Wilkerson, on this episode of the Beacon Way podcast.
You have been listening to the Beacon Way podcast. Make sure to join us for new episodes every week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Beacon Way on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.